Karibu Nyumbani, beloveds. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? Thank you so much for making us part of your relocation journey. We're so honored, and we really do pray that everything will go absolutely perfect as you start your journey back to the motherland. It's so hot. I kind of have to put my iPad upside down. Beloveds, I touched on this in a previous episode about how to legally relocate to the continent. If you'd love to see that that content, definitely consider joining our Patreon if it's not already on this YouTube platform. But someone has asked me to get a bit more in depth about finding a job in Africa. And beloveds, let me start up with a disclaimer. Like, don't move to Africa hoping you'll find a job here and then you'll relocate here. Move to create employment in your own small way. The fact that you're in the Babylon system, there's so many skills you've acquired that you could transfer through teaching, that you could, there's many ways, beloveds, but don't you may be lucky enough to find it, but it will delay your time if you put all your effort into, if you make a job kind of one of the things that has to happen for you to relocate to the motherland. It's better to be an entrepreneur. It's really better to have a job online. If you can have an online income of $2,000 to $3,000, you'd be extremely comfortable in a couple, depending on where you're living in Africa. We are, of course, talking about 54 countries. You'd be extremely comfortable, even with your family on that amount. So it would be great to generate some kind of online income. It's also good to be aware that the Babylon system is getting ready to collapse. It's already collapsing, and the dollar is going to collapse, etc., etc. They've been saying it's going to be the biggest economic crash, worst depression since I don't know what. So that's something to definitely, have in mind. It is good in the transition period to get a job. And if you're lucky enough to have it or to find one, then that is absolutely perfect. Now, one of the easiest ways, because first of all, you have to recognize sometimes you might even get local salaries. So don't expect to earn what you're earning in the divided kingdom of India or in the divided states here in Kenya or in Africa. In Kenya, you might. Yeah, in the big cities you might. But the first thing you should look into is recognize that there's a lot of non-governmental organizations. There's a lot of UN organizations with different programs in various countries, World Health Organizations, etc., etc. And they are continuously the Red Crosses of this world. They're continuously looking, for volunteers, and they'll even pay. I think they'll pay your food and accommodation and give you a small stipend as a volunteer. But they are continuously advertising for jobs. So you can look on reliefweb.com. You can look on the official United Nations website. I think they have the UN. I haven't looked. UN. I'll put it here. You can see it here, where they list all the jobs that they have in the various countries. Relief Web is a website that looks at the NGO and kind of humanitarian organizations, the kind of jobs that they have for humanitarian assistance in various different countries, and those are listed. But the trick with looking for any of these jobs, either within the United Nations, as a former UN employee, beloveds, can you imagine? Is to look for the short-term ones. Don't go for the 2-year contracts, because most of those jobs are already filled. It's just a formality that they're putting it in the papers. Don't even go for the 1 year. Go for the ones that are 3 months or 6 months. Those will be less, they'll have less applicants on them, and you'll have more of a chance. And spruce up your CV, etc. There's a lot that goes into. I swear, it's just as much work to try and apply for a job, through one of the UN agencies or something, as it is to try and see how you could create your own income. So that would be the first way. You could look at NGOs and different international organizations. So many international organizations have branches in Africa. So even if you're working for an international organization right now, you could ask them if you could relocate to Africa if they have positions open, and see if that would work for you, especially with with working remotely. It might include a job cut, but you never know. I mean, all the companies, the Apples, the Amazons, the IBMs, the Googles, they all have regional offices across Africa. So you could ask for to be, reposted or to be given consideration for any job that they have here. So that would be the first way to go about it. Look for international organizations, and you may even get a foot in by being from that country. Now, different countries like the divided kingdom, France, the former colonialists, they actually have specific aid programs, like I think the divided kingdom has DFID, Department of Foreign International Investment, something like that, whatever, Investment for Development or something like that, and many others. The Divided States has USAID and many others. So you can always look at what they're offering, Google what NGOs representing your Babylon nation. This is the time to take advantage of the passport you're holding, beloveds. So look at the opportunities they have, apply for them, because as a citizen you would be you'd be eligible. And there's so many Europeans that we see in those positions. It's so rare to see an African like us getting those positions, because many aren't looking to come back like that. But there are many opportunities within your governments, beloved. So take advantage of that. Even Germany has the Goethe Institute, France has Alliance Française, and they have very powerful networks. So you could use that to your advantage. Use that absolutely to your advantage. Another thing I would say is if you've looked at the international organizations, etc., and you've looked at aid agencies, etc., and you've looked, because those are the ones that would pay you the best, and you've also looked at government, what your government is doing in the various countries and the kind of programs they have, because they need those programs manned, and sometimes it's better by their citizens. You can also contact your embassies and see if there's any opportunity, for work, etc. So that's kind of the phase to go on what you can do online. But the next phase is creating networks, because Africa is all about networking. You'll probably get your job, your job from the person you have a long conversation with at the supermarket, who will be like, oh, why are you here? Oh, I happen to be a nurse. Oh, really? My friend has a clinic. In fact, they're looking for a nurse. Oh, can you connect? That's how Africa works, beloveds. It's all about networks, but you can start developing those networks where you are right now. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Karibu Nyumbani, beloveds. Welcome back to another episode on tips on relocating to, the motherland. I've gotten this question several times on Patreon about how do I find a job in Africa. As I said before the break, I really hope you're not coming here to find a job, because you'll have to work for the Babylon system, unless you want to make it like your transition point, your anchor, so that when you get here, at least you have a landing place. Then definitely that makes sense. If you're already, what do they call them? The high, not high income earners, but you're like highly skilled, your skills are in high demand. You would definitely find that here. But sometimes, doing these things online when it's not for an international organization kind of has you going around in circles, because Africa is really about networking, and people want to see you and talk to you and feel out your vibe, rather than just rely on a CV. So if you've looked the United Nations way, if you've looked the non-governmental organization way, if you've looked at what your government has to offer and you haven't found something, then you need to start getting more creative. That means looking into professional associations that are in line with your field. All the major fields like nursing, lawyers, accountants, they all have their professional associations in the different countries, engineers, architects. So I would definitely reach out to them. If you're not part of a professional association in your own country, join them and see if they have any links in Africa. This is how, because networks are everything in Africa. And once you join professional associations, then you can start to look at, developing those relationships, before you even ask for a job, developing those relationships partnership, seeing how maybe you can collaborate, etc., etc. If you have a particular skill, maybe you'd want to join a firm as a partner or as a consultant. So that's definitely something to join those professional associations, and they would be a great place to start, even for socializing people of like mind, as they always say. Once you do that, maybe start looking at your skill set, and don't look at it in the traditional way of the job you've always done, but the skills you've kind of accumulated, the projects you've run, and look at if you could offer that as a consultancy service. And this might be something that you need to do on the ground, where if you've been a nurse, maybe you could consult at the local nursing school in the country you want to move to. They'd absolutely love your skills. If you've been, an engineer or something, you could offer your skills to a university, maybe teach part-time in return for some kind of remuneration, etc., etc. So definitely think of consultancy. How could I offer my skills? And these should all be for the transition, for the transitioning part, so that your family has, the transition is smooth. You're able to at least have an income as you're in Africa. But don't make this like an option, beloveds. Because yes, it does happen where you can get a job and you move to Africa and live happily ever after, but you may have to do a mix or two. You may have to move here first, just being totally spiritually led, and then through your networks, through your social contacts, you'll now meet someone, of like who would know someone who needs your skill set. But think of how you could offer your skills. If you're a nurse, you could offer to work at a private school. There at least they'd be able to afford, quote unquote, afford you, and also offer to volunteer at a public school or a school in your village or in your community, etc., etc. So consultancies are definitely a way to go if you see a need, but that would definitely mean to be in the country for at least a month and kind of have a look, do a needs assessment. What do they call it? Strengths SWOT assessment. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A lot of interacting with the locals, interacting with the diaspora, and finding out where you could fit in, etc., etc. Also, if there's anything that you do socially, networks are everything in Africa, beloved. So if there's anything that you enjoy doing socially, you could see if there's a similar social club in the country that you're relocating to that you could become a part of. And through that, you would probably get your professional or job opportunity. And yeah, I would definitely look into making friends with diaspora in the country as well as locals in the country that you're moving to, because both of them have different networks and they could benefit you. There's certain things that the diaspora will give you that your local family won't be able to, and there's some things that your local family will be able to give you that your diaspora won't. And for some, it may just be sucking it up, because there's a lot of people that don't look like you and I in these diaspora organizations. But take what works for you, beloveds. And through a lot of these diaspora networks is where you'd hear about the different job opportunities. You might even get a shoe in, a foot in, etc., etc. Remember, education is the easiest way to come to Africa. If you want to come and be in the correct status, you could pick up Swahili as a foreign language or any other language. Register for a course. University is not that expensive as you figure things out. But a lot of jobs, if you do have skills that are greatly needed, there are many ways that you could work. Remember also, beloveds, that you could even volunteer your skills for a short period of time in order to learn the system, etc., etc. Remember, if you do have, if you belong to certain professions, there are exams that you might have to do, or you might have to go, like if you're a lawyer, if you come to Kenya, you'd have to study for a year to learn the local law system and then go, and then apply for the bar here. So look at any of that. But that's why it's so important to be part of a professional association. And, also think about giving your skills to many people. So if you were an accountant, back in the divided states or the divided kingdom. Maybe through your diaspora network, you could offer to file people's taxes locally and internationally, find out about that, or do their accounting. And then, spread you spread the cost among several people that you're offering a service to. But the best way to make it in Africa, beloveds, is to be an entrepreneur. Sell your skills, scale your talents. And yeah, that's really the best way. And if you can come in already with an online job of some kind, that would enable you to really kind of navigate through and create the life of your dreams and not the life of necessity. Until next time. Tuko pamoja.